Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the County Council meeting of Whitley County for the first one of the year, January 6, 2026. We appreciate everyone being here today. We've got a little bit on the agenda, not a whole lot. Looks like some good discussion. To start the meeting off today, I would ask that everyone please stand and join me in honoring our country with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda today for the new year is housekeeping election of officers. Your nominations, please.
I'd like to nominate Thor to retain the position of council chair and Nick as co-chair. I make that in a motion.
I have a motion to leave the chair and the vice chair the same. First of all, I'll ask, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, and then I'll go to discussion to ask if there is concern over doing it in one motion, or would you all like to have it separated for additional nominations? Are there any additional nominations, please? Hearing none, no other nominations, we'll go ahead and go to the vote. All those in favor of retaining me as the chair and Nick as the vice chair, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that this passed unanimously. I'm not seeing you. DJ, are you here? I'm not seeing our second item on the agenda, so we're going to move forward then, and we will continue with housekeeping as far as board appointments and assignments. Side one, side two, I'm looking at the appointments with the Alcohol Beverage Commission being at the top. We'll start there, please. 2025 Council Board appointments. The only one, to my knowledge, that is due for a January reappointment is the first one, the ABC Commission. It's a one-year appointment. Mike Venable is in that position now. Is there any nominations or any reason that the council would not want to retain him, or are there any additional nominations for this position, please?
Do we know if Mike's interested in remaining?
I asked yesterday, he said he was. We kind of need to discuss the Alcoholic and Beverage Commission. He has never completed any of the paperwork, not due to his diligence. He went to the March meeting and was told to come back when he was contacted by April Tackett. And then he missed the next meeting because she didn't get contacted. In July, they had posted there was a meeting, and he couldn't go because he wasn't called, didn't know about it, so I went. April was on vacation, and another gentleman from the agency was here, so I went over with him. He sent a form to Tiffany, who sent it to you to sign, who sent it back, who sent it to them, and it laid. The next meeting came up, I called Mike and said, have you heard from them? He said, absolutely not, but I'm going to go. I said, good. So I called to get a hold of April. That took quite a bit took several days, so finally she did call me back, and I told her somewhere we've missed the protocol. We don't, what's happening? And she said, no, everything's in place. He needs to come to the meeting, she'll bring the papers, and he needs to sign them and give them to Tiffany for your signature again, I guess. And she said, it's a whole packet. He went to the meeting and she didn't bring the papers, and that's where we're at. But he said he would like to start, so if we could figure out how we're supposed to, and I told her, I said, I think maybe it's because we've never replaced this person and people don't know the protocol maybe. I don't know. I don't know what happens here. I've tried. But that was my last conversation with her, was that she was going to bring the packet. So now we start over again. So if somebody knows something.
And all I have is the email correspondence with that gentleman that you had sent, and he had told me that we didn't need to sign anything for this year if you guys decided to retain him on there, that what I had already sent in with Laura's signature was fine.
Well, according to April,
So
there's
I'm
a
not
whole
sure.
packet he has to fill out.
Okay.
And then it is approved by the chair, and then it goes to the state, and then they approve it, and then he's on.
Okay.
But it's just, it's an entire year of it, and I don't understand it, so somebody else needs to figure out, I guess, what to do, because I've done everything I could do to help. But yes, Mike said he would be more than happy to try to get on.
I'll reach out to April and have a conversation with her on it.
Okay, thank you.
But it's good to know that Mike is still interested. Appreciate you reaching out to him and getting that confirmation. So I would entertain a motion then.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of reappointing Mike Nomal to the ABC, or the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, please raise your right hand. And let it be shown that it's passed unanimously. I'm looking through this list and I have no knowledge personally that any of these others need to be appointed at this time, reappointed at this time.
Read about, oh, sorry. Yes, that side I believe we're done with.
So we will move to the other side. Community Corrections Advisory Board, currently John Barrett. Who is interested in this position, please?
I will stay on the board if no other interest is expressed.
Is there anybody else interested, please? Vote of confidence for John to stay on, please. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. We'll leave that one remain the way it is. Redevelopment Commission, interest to be on this board, this commission, please?
I will stay on it if nobody else is interested in it.
I do have interest in the redevelopment commission, so I'll throw my name in there as far as consideration for that.
You're done after this year, right? You're not running again? I would second Thor's. Do we need to second that or just vote on it?
Nominations to fill spots like this don't require a second. Everybody here has a right to nominate someone, even if it's yourself, or letting it be known that you have interest in it. We do have the two appointments, with Mike Schrader being the other one that is currently in there. Has anyone had any conversation with Mike if he is still interested in staying on the redevelopment commission?
He is.
He is.
Mike is, yes.
Let's address Mike. First, all those in favor of vote of confidence to leave Mike on the redevelopment commission, please raise your right hand. Let it be shown it was passed unanimously. Kim and I both have interest in the redevelopment commission, so I'll just leave that to a vote of council on which one of us to go into that position, or to fill that position. All those in favor of Kim to remain in that position, please raise your right hand. And those in favor of me going into the position, please raise your right hand. And let it be shown it was passed 4-3 in my favor. County Plan Commission, I am currently in that. I would like to step aside from that and give someone else the opportunity to gain that knowledge with the Plan Commission. Is there anybody interested in that, please?
You got any interest?
Not on
Okay.
I've got interest if nobody else does.
Sounds like you have interest.
Is there any other nominations for the Plan Commission, please? Vote of confidence for Tim to go into that position, please. Raise your right hand. And that passes unanimously. EMA Advisory Board, that's currently filled by Tom Warner. Is there anybody interested in that position, please?
I'm fine with staying there.
Is there any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for Tom. All those in favor of Tom staying on the EMA Advisory Board, please raise your right hand. It's passed unanimously. Solid Waste Board, interest in the Solid Waste Board, please. Tom's currently on there.
I'm still good there unless somebody else wants there.
Is there any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for Tom to stay in that position. Raise your right hand, please. Thank you. EMS Oversight Committee, currently held by Nick. Who has interest in covering that committee, please?
I'm fine with staying on.
Is there any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for Nick. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Joint Advisory Board, currently myself and Nick. Is there any interest in this board, please? I'll remain on it.
Same.
Any other interest, please? Vote of confidence. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you for that. Senior Citizen Center Board, currently Joan occupies that position. Joan, are you interested?
I'll stay.
Is there anybody else that has interest, please? Hearing none, vote of confidence for Joan to remain in that position, please. Thank you. EDC Board, currently held by Joan. Is there anyone that has interest in that board, please?
I'd like to stay.
Anybody else have interest, please?
I'm interested, but I'll let you keep it.
All those in favor of the vote of confidence for Joan to remain on the EDC, raise your right hand, please. JDAI Board, currently John Barrett. Is there any interest in that board, please?
I'll stay.
Any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for John to remain in that position, please. Local Emergency Planning Commission. Currently, Tom fills that position.
I'm willing to stay there.
Is there any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for Tom to remain in that position. Region 3A, position currently with Tim Long. Tim, Tom, Jim.
I'm going to stay unless somebody else wants it.
Is there any other interest, please? Vote of confidence for Tim to stay in that position, please. Personnel Committee, made up of 3 members, and as you You, I'm quite certain know that we have expanded the personnel committee over this reorganization last year to include the commissioner and Paula Warden, so we can address, personnel committee can address their structure at their first meeting as far as keeping that structure or changing that. But right now, we do assign 3 members to the personnel committee, currently held by myself, Nick Brewer, and Tim Lowenball.
I'm fine with staying on.
Is there any other interest in the personnel committee, please?
I'm fine with staying.
Third position, is there anybody else that would be interested in being on personnel committee, please? Hearing none, I will stay on. So that leaves the same thing. Go to a vote of confidence for that to remain the same, please. All those in favor? Thank you for that. Are we missing anything? Appreciate you keeping a comprehensive list for us. We will then back up to the second item on the agenda. I believe I saw Mr. Sigler, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for my tardiness. For me, it takes a long time to do the hair in the morning, and today was no exception. I'm here today on behalf of really the public safety component of your community. We have a problem that is not of our making, it's not our creation, but it has become our problem. It is a statewide problem, and as I explained to the Personnel Committee when I met with them and with the commissioners when I spoke with them, we have a terrible problem in the state of Indiana with recruiting and retaining qualified attorneys, specifically qualified prosecutors to do the work of this community and other communities. This is not a Whitley County problem. This is a problem that has affected communities all across the state of Indiana. I've been part of a small group of prosecutors that attempted to be part of a solution with the governor and the legislature. We were unsuccessful in our last attempt at the legislative level to secure funding for additional deputy prosecutors. So let me I'll do my best to be brief. Those assembled in the audience know that's a problem for me, but I'm going to do my best here this morning to do that. Historically, Whitley County has operated with 3 a prosecuting attorney, a chief deputy prosecutor, and a juvenile and 4D deputy prosecutor. It was that way for a long time. For many years, as the chief deputy prosecutor, there were only 2 of us. At that time, it was Matt Rentschler and myself. When it was John Whitley, it was John and Matt and myself. But there have always been 2 or 3. And about 6 or 7 years ago, the case levels got to be such a point that I came to this body and asked for a position to be funded for an additional criminal deputy. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more here in a minute. And you were gracious enough to do that. And we hired a gentleman by the name of John Kitch. We paid John the princely sum, practicing lawyer, 20 years experience, a former judge, a former prosecutor, a former defense attorney. We were paying him $72,000 a year. It's wholly inadequate for a person of that experience level. And that was, again, not your fault. That's how I asked the position be funded. That's how it was funded. Sadly, John passed, and we hired a new deputy prosecutor from Allen County, a young woman by the name of Haley Scribner, who was a very accomplished sex crimes prosecutor, also a certified public accountant. And we paid her, I asked you to pay her $90,000, which you graciously agreed to do. And that amount is where the position is funded today. And it also represented about a $15,000 or $20,000 pay cut for Haley to come and work here. That was an exceptional circumstance, and I think that she chose that. I don't want to speak for her certainly, but it was my impression that she chose that because we have a reputation here of which I'm deservedly proud. I'm part of it, but I'm also the benefactor of it. I'm also a recipient of it. And so we've got this kind of tough persona in the community, a really successful persona as a prosecutor's office and as a community for being tough on crime. Haley respected that. She came to work for me. As these things go, talented people leave, and she left to take the bench. And we then offered the position out, and I had extraordinary difficulty finding qualified candidates for the amount of money that this position pays. Okay. When I say extraordinary, I had no shortage of candidates. I had no qualified candidates in my estimation. So shortly before going before the Personnel Committee to explain my request for additional funding for the deputy prosecutor slots, I was able to hire a gentleman who has no prosecutorial experience but has served as a police officer. And we have high hopes that he is going to be an excellent addition to the staff. I've worked with him just a short while, but I can tell you he gets it, and he understands what we expect in this community, so I'm very hopeful for that. His hire also represented a pay cut. So I have people who have never served as prosecutors taking a pay cut to come and work here, and that is untenable. Also, with the advent of pay increases for certain members of our state police forces, we have situations in which our road officers are being paid more than our deputy prosecutors. That's difficult, okay? That creates a problem. I'm grateful for the state police. They get what they deserve what they get, and I wish it was 100 times more. But the fact of the matter is we're paying the people who are responsible for prosecuting the crimes less than the guys who were, and the gals who are investigating the crimes, and that's an enormous problem. So as of yesterday, we are fully staffed with 4 criminal lawyers, okay? Myself and my chief deputy, a criminal deputy, and then a deputy prosecutor, Lindsay Gross-Nickel, who handles juvenile matters, child support matters, and civil forfeiture. So into that crux, here's our problem. In 2002, when I started this job, there were approximately 500 or 600 case filings in the Whitley Superior Court. As of yesterday, when I ran the numbers in 2025, there were 1,268 case filings in the Superior Court. That represents an increase from 2023 when we had 1161. It represents an increase from 2024 of 1221. The numbers just keep going up. Okay, and based upon my experience, when I started in 2002, we handled about 6 or 8 cases on a Monday morning with Judge Rush right in his courtroom. Now, if we're doing any fewer than 20, it's miraculous on Monday morning in Superior Court. Our case filings in the Circuit Court have remained between 80 and 100 major felonies a year, which in my mind is an average number for a community of our size. But there's some things that go on around that that cause it to be a more complicated kind of mix. The Superior Court caseload is everything, right? It's child pornography cases, it's drug cases, it's sexual assault cases, it's property cases, it's victim crimes. It's all of these things that sometimes we have a tendency to think of as smaller or lower level because they occur in volume. But the reality is it's where the rubber hits the road in our community. Right, it's all of the domestic violence cases, it's all of the bar fights, it's all of the things where we've got an aggrieved property owner who's lost something as a result of somebody's criminal behavior. So we're seeing it over and over and over again, and that's the caseload. Those are just the filed cases. That doesn't take into account, ladies and gentlemen, the cases that we review that don't get filed, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of those a year. The investigations that we do that nobody ever sees that don't pan out. In addition, we have a whole slew of new mandates from our legislature. And they're good mandates, I suppose, but they require additional time and resources that we don't possess currently. We have a Veterans Treatment Court that's highly successful that Judge Fall started. That requires a lot of prosecutorial time from my staff. Drug Court, we just started in the Circuit Court, another excellent program, but it requires a lot of resources from my office that nobody is dedicated to specifically and can't be. We have a child fatality review team. We have a child protection team. We've taken a better and longer view of law enforcement training in my administration. We do more on an annual basis to train our officers. We have victim outreach. We have a 24-hour call system. So there's a prosecutor on call in this county 24 hours a day for law enforcement. And the nature of the business has changed. This is going to be the end of my commercial, but the nature of the business has changed, both in prosecution, okay, and in the way crimes are being committed, right? So you're going to hear a lot more because we are better at what we do than we used to be. We have more resources and more tools. We have flock cameras on US 30 that are license plate readers that help us pull criminals off the streets if they've been flagged. We're better at detecting crime. We have a much better ability through our electronic detection, through our electronic forensic units to investigate drug crimes, to investigate property crimes. We've better, more aggressive policing. We have, in my time, we've had more interaction with our federal counterparts at the U.S. Attorney's Office last year in 2025 than we did in all the years put together. We had multiple cases with the federal government, which was really interesting to me, and those resolved very successfully for Whitley County, so I'm proud of that. We recently underwent a huge discovery change. The amount of evidence that we take in electronics, every case has a cell phone, from the misdemeanor case, the misdemeanor OWI stop, to the attempted murder that we've got going on in this county. All of these goes, everybody's got a cell phone. And every juror wants to know what's on a cell phone. And the amount of work that goes into that requires an enormous amount of resources. So I say all that to paint the picture. We have a problem here. It's a problem not of our creation, but it has arisen. And so for that, I'm asking that you make some changes to the way my attorneys are staffed, the way my attorneys are compensated. I put together just a brief outline for you of what I'm suggesting. Now, it's important that you understand how the payment is structured in my office, how salaries are paid. What you need to understand first and foremost is that neither myself nor the Chief Deputy Prosecutor, Ms. Patrick, are compensated by the county. We are compensated by the state of Indiana. We are assigned to Whitley County by virtue of my election, but we are paid by the state of Indiana. The only position, the only legal lawyer prosecutor position that is fully funded by the county is this newest criminal deputy, for which I have a new hire. You fund that at $90,000 a year. I am requesting that you expand the range of what I am able to pay that position from a straight 90 to the potential for $120,000. I'm not suggesting that we pay my newest hire any more this year. I got to get a year under my belt and see where we are. But I want the ability to come back and say to this body that he has performed beyond all expectation, because I think he will, and reward him and bring him in line with what lawyers are paid throughout the state of Indiana, and prosecutors are paid throughout the state of Indiana. And it's important to note that we fall a little bit below the median in terms of what we pay our deputies. Okay. Right now in our surrounding counties, and I kind of discount Allen because that's a different animal, but in Wells, in Adams, in Kosciuszko, in Huntington, they're making more, not a ton more, but we are behind the curve in my estimation. So I would propose that at no cost to this body that you give me the authority to return to you in a year or 2 years and pay this person more, up to $120,000. That would be the max salary available ultimately for that position. But that doesn't cost you anything today. The second position, the child support, and it's item number 1, Roman numeral 1, the child support juvenile civil forfeiture is it's complicated. I'm going to do my best to not confuse myself and everybody else. That salary is funded and reimbursed in part by the federal government. You presently pay, Whitley County presently pays that deputy prosecuting slot, $91,000. Now, the person who is in that slot right now, as I said, is Ms. Gross-Nichols. She's got 20 plus years of experience as a civil and domestic litigator and as a prosecutor. I don't think that salary is reflective at all of somebody who's with her experience level, or for the things that I ask that position to do. Okay, which is all of the child support cases, all of our juvenile justice cases, and anytime a drug dealer gets caught out tooling down US 30 with a trailer full of drugs and money, we don't just get to take the money and keep it. We have to sue the drug dealer to get that money. And she's responsible for those cases, those civil forfeiture cases. So, because child support, you see 4D attributed salary under 1A, because the Federal Child Support Authority reimburses the county, we're allowed to take 80% of that salary, that $91,000, which is $72,800, and 66% of that $72,800 is reimbursed to Whitley County. So the county's current outlay for that position is $42,952. That's the current salary outlay. What I am proposing is increasing that salary to the $120,000. And as you see with the projection, I put the projection down there. 80% of $120,000 is $96,000. 66% of the federal reimbursement for $96,000 is $63,360. The proposed increase of the county pay is $56,640. And the 2026 projected county expense for this change would be approximately $13,688. Now, this is going to give me what I need to compensate my people fairly for the work that they do, and that I've asked them to do. And I've been proud of the fact that we've done more with less for a long time. And that's okay. Everybody is cross-trained. Everybody does everybody else's job. Everybody is capable of doing it. We have to be that way so we can stay on our toes, as it were, with the folks that we're confronted with on a daily basis. But this is public safety, and I don't want to make it hyperbole. This is government. We're all overworked and are all underpaid. You know, and there's a support group for that. It's called Everybody, and we need it to bar, right? I mean, that's the way it goes. But we have reached a point where if I lose people, I'm not sure that I can rely on the days gone by to get qualified prosecutors here to do the work. We have something of an all-star team right now. I like to think of a murderer's row of prosecutorial experience. We got it because John Whitebrother, because Matt Rentschler, because Dan Sigler all stood in those shoes and did the work, and they trained us. And one of the things they always did for us was they came here and they asked. And I'm asking you now because I see a real problem on the horizon if we don't do this. And by my math, and I would of course defer to professionals who do the work on a daily basis, but by my math, the investment of $13,668 is a fairly negligible investment for the quality of work that has been done. And in the event that we are required to recruit again and to attempt to retain folk, I don't see it at the current staffing levels where we are. So this is a minimal investment. I consider the situation extraordinarily serious. I wouldn't come here if I didn't. If there was a way for me to do this, I would without asking. We have put this off and put this off and put this off. And now's the time when I'm coming to seek your approval and ask you humbly and respectfully for your endorsement for this investment, like $13,000+, and also for the authority ultimately to pay that criminal deputy the $120,000. And as I recall, after the personnel committee, you'll note under section 1A, just to come back, there's a $91,000 with an asterisk. You'll see that asterisk. I want to explain that. I have supplemented, by virtue of some of the federal incentive funds that we receive, I have supplemented that $91,000 with an additional $10,000 each year, which I'm permitted to do under the federal guidelines. I also use those federal incentive monies to pay performance bonuses to my child support enforcement caseworker staff. Because of the volatility in that fund, it would be my intention to stop paying that $10,000 in performance bonus to make sure that I have it for my caseworkers, to make sure I have it for my administrative folk in my capital needs, okay? So, but that's what that asterisk stands, is related to. So the ask again is for the $13,688, and for your blessing to move those positions each to $120,000 in total salary and compensation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I can't say, excuse me, that with DJ coming to Personnel Committee last month, we did look on this favorably. We didn't have the numbers in front of us exactly, but we had a healthy discussion about it and thought that this was an appropriate ask, but wanted DJ to come before council with numbers. That way we could have a better discussion with hard facts in front of us.
Was that unanimous?
Yes, it was.
Well, I do have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, my questions do not relate to your quality of work you have so far. I've witnessed your actions. I appreciate everything you and your department does, but we have to be mindful of our taxpayers. So I guess I'm not understanding why we don't follow the WIS review. Why are we not getting figures from WIS on this?
Well, I'm sorry, I can answer that.
Sure.
So it's interesting that you mentioned WIS, because WIS was the firm that was hired by the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council to do a statewide review of compensation levels and workloads for prosecutors. And what WIS has found, both in the state context and I think in the individual Whitley County context, as we go back to the older WIS reports, is that the compensation levels were depressed, that they aren't. They aren't where they are supposed to be, and I would defer to Jenny. I don't see her in here.
She's
because-
back here.
Jen, do I have that right? The old WIS report had a.
The last report we did was in 2022, so
Okay.
we don't have current.
But my understanding has been, when we ask for a WIS review, they use current information.
We have, correct.
Why would we pay for old information?
We have not paid for old.
No, when we do a review for a certain, if a department head comes before us and wants to do an increase, and the
Correct.
response is, if you want to pay for the review or the comparison out of your budget, then we'll be willing to look at that when that comes in. That's what I'm referring to.
Right, that's a good question.
So do they use current? I'm assuming they use
They
current
would
figures.
use current.
Okay. So that's, there again, that goes back to my question. Why aren't we following our protocol for the WIS review or comparison? And then we're presented that comparison so we can see where we actually are. That's my question. I mean, that's my
Sure.
question.
Well, I can't speak to your
Okay.
protocol. And
Okay,
I
so that was a concern
Sure.
I have. My other concern is, why didn't we do this at budget time? Because we just did budget.
Mhm.
So I'd like to see this at budget time, because we're gonna have a very different type of budget this year and for the next 3 years.
I can answer that if you'd like, or if you
Sure,
want.
yes.
Sure. So my response to that is, at budget time, I still had somebody who was working in that slot. And at that point, I was unaware that she had taken a pay cut to come work for me. I was unaware that I was going to have to go out and find somebody. And so that's the reason why I didn't. I tend to agree with you completely that there's a time and a place. That would have been the time and the place. Had I been able to do that, I would have, yes.
Okay, let's see. How did you?
And quite honestly, I'm gonna just add briefly, we're getting really close right now to budget time. As far as
It's June.
information, well, right, but it has to start, the information has to start putting together, so we're.
Right, and
we're a
I'm
full
assuming this
six-
is just discussion.
Yeah,
It
we're
says
a full 6
discussion.
months away from
Yeah.
our last budget considerations. And I think that, things do change in 6-month time frame when you're looking at a year's.
Well, I understand we need to be open. I'm just saying, I think we should have the WIS review and look at it at budget time. That's what I'm saying.
I respect that. And if there's, I think, I could ask Jenny to provide the 22 numbers. I understand they're not current numbers, but I could maybe ask to go back and look at that. My recollection of that particular report, because I was the elected prosecutor at that time, was it was saying much the same thing we're saying now, but I respect what you're saying and having that on a piece
So
of
why
paper.
wouldn't we get current figures? first?
Well, I think we're saying two different things. I don't have current figures. I don't have a current list report to offer you. Okay. I do know that in 2025, WIS was commissioned at the state level to look at workloads for prosecutors and what we're paying prosecutors. And that included Whitley County. And one of the things they found was that Whitley County was 3.2 prosecutors fewer than the cases we were handling. So we needed 3.2 people. And then as a whole, the population of prosecutors in counties of our size was undercompensated. So that's, I'm not arguing with you about the WISP piece. I agree with you.
Well, I'm not arguing about it either.
The only thing I can offer you is what the county already has, which is a 2022 study today. And if that, the board decides, if the council decides that you want a more current report, I certainly would not stand in the way of that at all.
So I can think straight, to go from 91,000 to 120 on one position,
Correct.
it will only cost Whitley County basically $14,000?
That is my projection, and I'm not a human resources professional, but yes, under the formula that we currently compensate that position at, that is correct.
That's for one.
That's for one.
What would the second position?
Zero, because I'm not gonna pay that position anymore this year.
But in the future?
But in the future, what I want to
Okay.
be able to do, and I would have to come back and say to you, okay, now I have a range of salary options for this
Yep.
position. I would like to pay this person X.
Okay. So but it should be somewhere around 14.
No, on the second position, it will be a direct, if I may, this would be a direct dollar for dollar cost to the county.
Okay.
Because with the child support deputy, that first position, we get federal reimbursement monies for that.
Okay.
The feds pay us to keep that position. Right?
Okay.
In the second position, it's purely funded by the county. It's a pure county position. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Did you understand that you've got a variety of different things to spend and to point your discretionary funds towards? If there would come a time to where you would have a consideration to pointing that $10,000 back towards a salary supplement, if this would be approved and you would have to go the other direction at this point to fund that instead of the discretionary funds, would you be willing to have that open conversation with us at that time that, hey, this is what, just to keep everything at face value so we're apprised of that information? Do you think that's appropriate?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I'm a partner in this, and I have to be a responsible fiscal partner as well. So I understand that part of that means I might not get to do a couple things in the year that I want to do ordinarily. It means I've got to use these discretionary federal funds to enhance a salary. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that conversation. Part of that conversation, we don't need to go forward that here. Part of that conversation is the volatility of that particular fund. I can't say from year to year what I'm going to have in there, and so it makes it difficult for you in budgeting and for me in budgeting to say, oh, I've got this pot of money over here where I've got, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and I'm going to supplement the salaries of all of our professional staff in that particular division. So, but the short answer to your question is yes, I'm willing to have that conversation.
And I appreciate the fact that it is not a given. It fluctuates. I just want to make sure that, that we're on the same page and can have those discussions, especially when it comes to the job that we have to do here as far as looking at the entire employee base for the county to make sure that we feel like the taxpayer is getting their value, along with making sure that we compensate all of our employees in as fair manner as we can from the chairs that we're sitting.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for DJ, please?
I didn't know you had cameras on the intersections to detect
Well,
criminals. I think that's
It is,
awesome.
it is funny that you mention that, because I want more.
I wish we could give you that.
I want more. And I am actually gonna have a meeting today to talk about adding a couple. And just real briefly for a commercial, these are called LPRs, license plate readers. And what happens is they're monitored by a national company. We use them. We can't use them willy-nilly. We have to have a law enforcement purpose, but they have been magnificent in helping us stop and detain wanted folks, people who are driving without licenses, people who have committed crimes, wanted in other jurisdictions, things like that. It's been a real boon, and my law enforcement team keeps clamoring to me, we want more, we want more, we want more. It really helps us out. It really helps us keep the roads safe. And so at 2 o'clock today, I got another meeting about that, so I may be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will add to what Nick said. We looked at this as a personnel committee, and we moved it forward unanimously, but there was a lot of good discussion on the fact that we didn't feel like it was, we felt like it was to a point where it needed to come to full council for the information to be gathered, looked at, considered. We didn't feel that we should turn it away from coming to full council, and that's the reason that it's here today.
Well, a heads up is always welcome.
That's where we're at. So, you have the information that the personnel committee has. I think as we've already talked about, this isn't something that is rushed right now. I think it's still time to ask questions and to look into this, so I'll ask the council at this time, what are your ideas? What are your wishes at this point?
My understanding, we have two issues that we have to decide, right? The salary increase for the child support deputy and an open
And the range for the second
range for the
position. There's not an ask for an additional amount for that second position this time, only for us to increase the range. And as Mr. Sigler already mentioned, that's not going to be an open checkbook. That's just a salary range that we're approving. He would still need to come back to council for approval to change that salary when he sees that it would be an appropriate time.
I make a motion, we approve the salary increase of $13,688 for the position of child support juvenile civil forfeiture deputy, proposed salary increase.
When do you want that to start? When do you want that to start?
Be the next pay period.
I'll second John's motion.
I have a motion and a second. I'll open it up for discussion, please.
I just have to say, I think making a motion to approve this with how many of us not on the personnel committee who haven't had the deep discussions on this, and this is the first time it's presented to us, I think it's a little premature. I would like to see a WIS evaluation.
What's the cost of that evaluation? Do you know, Tiffany? Do you know what that would cost?
$200.
I think that's a small price to pay to have it updated.
Well, you've got 3 of us, or 4 of us who've just heard this information. I mean, we've just heard this, and now you want to vote on this. And, you know, how did the value of the increase come? I was gonna ask that question and I forgot. How did you come up with a certain amount of increase?
How did I fix on the top end,
Correct.
120? Yeah, great question. That, for me, was an evaluation of the surrounding counties. I understand, as I said, that we're not in line with Allen County. There is an opportunity to pay, if you're a deputy prosecutor working in Allen County with the amount of experience, that some of our deputies have, 140,000. That didn't seem reasonable to me, given what we are here in this community. But it was in line with Adams County, Huntington County, Wells County, and also in line with the WIS findings across the state. That is an appropriate compensation level for people who are handling the number of cases and the volume of cases and the kinds of war harassment. So that was how I understood it.
Were those current figures or were they 2022 figures?
Well, the surrounding counties are current, yeah. So the WIS figures that I'm utilizing from the state study are from 2025.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I'll just add that I'm on the personnel committee, so I'm in favor of this moving forward. To echo a lot of what Mr. Sigler said, we've got a long history here of being tough on crime, and I think we need to do what we can do to support that. So I'm in favor with this moving forward as presented.
Obviously, being on the personnel committee, I'm in favor of it too. The numbers make sense to me, but I know, Joan, you like to do your homework and investigate these things, and I wouldn't have a problem with us putting this off for a month. It's not an emergency. I wouldn't have
Well, I
a
think it
problem
would
with
be
us. If it's a
respectful
good
for us.
idea right now, it's gonna be a good idea next month. I think you'll be able to get by for a month.
Yes, sir.
I'm not, if you all see value in sleeping on this and doing some investigating and even a new WIS report, we can put Jennifer on that, then I think it's a small time to wait and a small price to pay for that evaluation, regardless of how that comes back. That information might be worth obtaining.
I'd like to see a new report, just
I would too.
for my own curiosity, just so we know we're right where we're headed.
Well, yeah. All I would say is I would ask that if that report comes back higher than 120, consider that as well.
That's a fair ask.
Anything can be considered kind of.
Jennifer, do you know the turnaround time on such a report? You know if it's like days, weeks, months,
It's not months, I would say weeks.
weeks?
Yeah, maybe a week or two at the most.
Okay.
It all depends on how busy they are, but it's pretty quick.
Most likely prior to our next council meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in favor of either. I see the value in paying employees and what they're worth. As you all know, I've always been as generous as I possibly could be with regard to what council has allowed in increases for pay. This is no different. I see your need, and I feel it's appropriate. However, I also feel, like Thor said, that it's appropriate that we gather numbers and you all get the information that you're searching for. So yeah, I would be in favor of requesting that report as well.
DJ will ask, normally the procedure is the department head pays for that WIS evaluation, so I assume that, or I would hope you got that couple $100 someplace you could.
I will find it.
Okay. I do have a motion and a second. We are in discussion.
I'll withdraw my second.
I'll leave my motion as is.
The second has been withdrawn, so I do need a second to go to a vote. The motion dies for lack of second. Is there another motion, please?
You gonna make the motion to go to WIS, and then we'll look at it?
I make a motion that we ask or obtain the WIS report and review it and then come back in a month.
Second.
A motion and a second to postpone this for a month and gather information. Is there further discussion on that, please? Hearing none, all those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it was passed 6-1, Ms. Thomas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DJ.
Next on the agenda, Lisa Waterman, please, here to give us an update on the Churubusco Library.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of connected with this whole library thing because of pickleball, and I'm limping because of pickleball. So I had an accident on Saturday, but my name's Lisa Waterman, and I'm a resident of Churubusco lifelong. I've been talking to Thor over the last few months because there's a lot of activity beginning to move in Churubusco, and it's in connection, I'd say, really with my involvement. I joined the board of the library in January. And I'll say that, so my background, I own my own firm, Waterman Financial Services in Fort Wayne. I'm a certified financial planner, past member of the town council, Churubusco, currently the president of the Blue Lake Conservancy District. So I'm in and out of the municipal stuff, not-for-profit. I've been chairman of various boards, including passages here over the years. So what ended up happening, I'll just say that I was able to get a grant to build 4 new pickleball courts in Churubusco Park with a great gift from the Whitley County Community Foundation. And in doing a presentation there back in November, I think it was, or October, I got done doing a presentation about how it was going. It's going fantastic. The park is beautiful anyway, and the courts are fabulous and being used all the time. But anyway, when I sat down, someone leaned over and said, they need your leadership on the library board. So I pursued that. I've known September McConnell at the Community Foundation for many years, so we talked about it, and here I am. So in talking about what is going on, I'm going to assume you've heard a bit, but we'll start a little bit at the beginning, and that is that the Churubusco Public Library is funded by property tax out of Smith Township in the town of Churubusco. And unfortunately, it is funded, I believe, the second lowest level in the state of Indiana for library property tax rate. That being said, you all are very familiar with the complexities of municipal finance and what Governor Braun has put into place. So that's not going to change anytime soon. Add in the fact that the Smith Green Community Schools system is facing a referendum and trying to increase their rate. So the property tax thing is just a perfect aside. So that being said, let's talk about what happened in the past. And again, forgive me if you already know this, but there was a partnership of sorts that was created, I think maybe in 21, and that included the town of Churubusco, the Community Foundation of Whitley County, the library, and then a new entity that was created called the Coalition, Churubusco Community Coalition Corporation, I believe is the formal name. A 501c3 organization that would allow for charitable donations outside of municipal funding. So it was really established for that purpose. As you look around for donations, oftentimes when a government entity is involved, no charity wants to give because it's like, well, you get property tax, so we don't want to fund you. So anyway, that partnership was established, and I can look back on that and seeing the different pieces and tell you lots of reasons it failed, and it failed. In the throes of getting involved here, there was a meeting that I had with what's called the Coalition late December last year, and in essence, I said, we need leaders from all organizations, and all those leaders really weren't working together. A lot of complexities about not being, I'd say, forthright with what needed to happen. So that's a bit the opposite of me. I'll tell you anything you want to know, and truthfully, and call it out, whatever. So over the course of time, that's pretty much what happened in the several months of this year, early on. You probably are aware of some of the changing dynamics in the community of Churubusco and the town. So that being said, I'll just now summarize that quickly and say where we're at now. That is, the town has recently agreed to give up any ties to what is now, we're calling the old Churubusco State Bank building that sits on the corner of 205 and Line Street, right in the center of town. And how this whole partnership really got together is the fact that, like many rural communities, Churubusco has faced a suicide problem with our young people. When we start looking around about causation and perhaps what supports might need to be there, our public library needs to be as strong as it is here. Peabody Library is fantastic. South Whitley Library is fantastic. Churubusco Library is not fantastic. It's on a side street in a rectangular building, no windows, cinder block. It is suffering from a lack of care in every regard, from vision to programming. There's no storage, there's no basement. It's about 2,000 or 3,000 square feet, and it's a little building. And but I will tell you that when I was young, when my mom couldn't find where I was, she'd call the library and I'd be in those books somewhere. And we feel that it is time to elevate the library to a different level, that we start having it be an active and a thriving member of the Churubusco community. So now the Churubusco and how the building was originally, it's a vacant bank building, for those of you who don't know. PNC was there, but Churubusco State Bank was there for many years. I don't know, or back to the 1930s or something when Churubusco State Bank was established. That being said then, it sat vacant, I think, for about 8 or 9 years. Interestingly enough, when you walk in, it's quite in good shape. But without question, there needs to be renovations. And one of the biggest renovations, or one of the biggest needs, is going to be a new roof. And that, we have estimates of some $200,000 that would be needed to be doing that. We're establishing quite a few different partnerships, but I'll go back to how the building was purchased. $200,000 was given by the town of Churubusco. Sorry, $250,000 from the town of Churubusco. $200,000 from the Community Foundation of Whitley County, with a lien being placed on the building in the event the library was not the active tenant in the building by, I think it's 2028. Those partnerships are still going on, but just recently the town of Churubusco, in really me doing presentations and talking about what we're trying to do, gave up any financial clawback to the building. And I'm regularly working with the Community Foundation of Whitley County. In fact, I have a meeting with them right after this to say, how can we make the library thrive again, and how do we get them moving into that building? That being said, with my joining the library board, I started talking to the board about my feeling that we didn't really know what a great library looked like, because all we had was the one that we were sitting in, because we have our meetings there. And I said, we need to start doing some strategic planning, and was able to get some money to do that. And in interviewing various facilitators, it became obvious that we needed a little bit different tactic, and that was the creation that I ultimately got approved by the board of the library to create an ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee, in case you're not aware, is a side committee. Doesn't actually have voting authority, but I'm on it and I am a voting member of the library board. So I am constantly bringing back their ideas and their momentum, and that's what we've got phenomenal momentum now moving forward to complete this project. Our hope is that the library will be in by January of '27, and that's involving a lot of moving parts. And my whole purpose for being here is to give you an update, because people are talking about it. We sent out a postcard at the end of the year asking for private donations. We are in the ask mode of various foundations and such, and and again, I don't know what all you guys know about what happened before. I was not involved before. There was an ask for some, I believe, $3.5 million. I think they came here perhaps talking about a bond and seeing if that was a possibility. We're not expecting that. We expect to be able to do private fundraise through all of it. I'm actively working with about 4 different foundations right now, along with numerous private asks, and trying to establish matching money and so on. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, there may need to be some property tax increase, but we're so low. If we doubled it, it would still be so low. But the thing is that the ad hoc committee is trying to represent the various resources and segments of our populace, including agriculture, finance, business, young families, homeschoolers, trying to think of all the different people that are on there. And I've personally asked each one. We meet every 2 weeks, and we are moving forward on making this project happen. A few different partnerships that are now also created may be familiar to you. One is Steve Park, who was an architect. His firm is Basic Element. He's currently the architect in charge of the Whitley County Consolidated Schools Tech Building. So I don't know if any of you know Steve. He is a rock star and is totally focused on efficiency and doing the very best for community. To put that in perspective, I've received a bill from him and he told me not to pay it. An architect typically would be charging somewhere upwards of 10% of the project, which we're estimating to be 1.5, would be $150,000, right? He gave me a bill for $5,000 and said, but don't pay it. I said, because we need to pay you. No, don't need payment yet. What he really does, he's a guy who is phenomenal at what he does. He's the architect in charge of this tech building. As I understand, my numbers may be a little bit off, but he was the architect in charge of the Huntington North Football Stadium. I believe, again, my figures I think are on, but it was estimated at $17 million, he came in at $7 million. Hit the Maple Creek Middle School in Northwest Allen County Schools, that was his original project. That is now their mainstay of what they're using in school stuff. So to say I think I've partnered with a great person who is entirely focused on what we need to happen is an understatement. With that, our hope also is within the project is to do what he's doing in the Whitley Tech building, and that is to bring in our high schoolers in the building trades to help with some of the demolition. It will be a build out of a white envelope, as he calls it, so that we get all of it buttoned up around and now prioritizing in the various orders of things that need done, the roof being the number one, and then prioritizing and putting price tags to each one of the segments. Had a meeting yesterday with him. I have somebody that is retired construction project manager who's on the ad hoc committee, along with Greg Matney from the Deco Foundation. So they're all coming together. We're lining up everything to kind of make those things happen, starting to plan a lot of fundraisers, and just asking, I've got 2 asks for you. Number 1 is for verbal support and ask any questions so that I can provide any information to you, number 1. And number 2, some of the, I don't know if I'd say the sins of the past or whatever, but the library board really isn't representative of our community and has no business support. So I'm asking you to nominate, and I'll get you the appropriate forms, Ben Lovell, who he is with Vision Homes and previously had not-for-profit work experience. The postcard that we sent out was really him and I working behind the scenes to create that. He's a little rock star too. Younger guy, young family, has used the library. So the public library, the Churubusco Public Library, as I said about the property tax support, it's also governed by you guys from a financial support and a nomination perspective, and that's why I'm asking to get a nomination and approval for Ben Lovell. And I think overall, just letting you know that this project it is completely our intent to get this project moving forward. We were talking last night as our meeting kind of went into the early evening hours, that fundamentally we don't need a ton of money to move in there. We just need that roof fixed, and then it actually could be moved in now, but it won't look like a library. It will still look a little bit like the bank. So it's that progress to get onto looking like a great library and going through those processes. I said one of the things that I had, I call them the ladies of the library, our board, is to go to all the libraries in the area. And one that I went to was the Kendallville Library, because I did the same. And Steve Park looked at me and goes, "Did you like Kendallville Library?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "I was the architect who designed that." So again, those partnerships fundamentally with the community foundations, with the coalition now is 100%, I'll say, the library's not-for-profit arm. Previously, it was associated exclusively with the town. So each one of the nominations and the people that are on the coalition are now in full support of the library project. Our library board is being built up, and I think we're lining up the resources to make this project happen. And talking with Thor, he wanted me to come to make sure that you all knew about it and feeling informed about what's happening in the Churubusco area.
I would encourage you, thank you for that, by the way. But I would encourage you to look at the previous council meeting we had when, I don't remember her name, she had come with a similar ask about property taxes and its impact on the ag community in that area. I think that was 2 years ago, roughly, I want to say, just for informational purposes.
Thanks, Nick. I've heard about it. And I'll say too, that is why Mel Eagolf, who is a prominent farmer in the Churubusco area, he's on the ad hoc committee. And we do not see that being a funding source in the foreseeable future right now.
Okay.
Because the impact, predominantly because the Smith Green Community Schools also doing a significant ask.
Mhm.
So, I just feel like we've just not, many of the entities, we thought, I think, it a badge of honor to walk around and act like we had the lowest property taxes around, and now all of a sudden everybody's playing catch up because it's an impossible task to withstand.
Sure.
But with that, also, when I was talking about we'll be doing phases and have different costs associated with each of the segments, noting that each one of those has a price tag, we just don't see that we need nearly as much as was originally estimated. One of the big things that has come up also is recognizing, if I looked at the Peabody Library compared to the Churubusco Library, you see the Peabody Library that is a part of your community. And when we originally did the card, actually, one of our really wonderful board members, Kelsey Schanbarger, is a Master of Library Science degree holder. And she said, I don't think you really need the community center part because that is what a library does. And I said, well, it doesn't do it in Churubusco because we don't have any room. We have nothing. So a big part of this is just fundamentally bringing the library up to the 21st century, number one. Number two is to make sure it's a part of the heart of Churubusco and making sure that kids have a safe spot, those sorts of things. So the property tax is more like, yeah, we gotta be aware of it, but that's not going to be our prominent source by any stretch.
That's good to hear. It's better for you guys that way, I think.
Absolutely. But it's a harder thing because everybody loves a great facility, but you still got somewhere along the line, we gotta get paid, money's gotta come, so.
Sure.
Lisa, currently Stacy Keener is our appointment, and that's due, to
And
be
Stacy
reappointed.
resigned. Stacy resigned, and her husband Devin Keener is on the town council. And a lot of this project was coming to brewing, I'll say, and she had resigned her position.
So, I know you have shared with me that you have a new library director.
We are in the process of hiring a new library director. The previous librarian was dismissed, I'm gonna say a month ago.
So I'm going to probably then assume that the reason we don't have any information that we needed to reappoint that is because of the changeover in leadership. So I'm not so sure that we don't need to put that on next month's agenda and ask that nominations be forwarded to us to make a decision on replacing
Okay.
Stacy Keener at our next month's meeting. And as quickly as we get that information, I know there are council members that like to reach out and talk to people who are nominated. So I would hope that we could get an appointment done for you at next month's meeting.
So I have some formal paperwork. Do you have that paperwork, or am I to give it to you?
Well, I don't know.
Because
I don't know what the
there's some
paperwork is.
form, it looked official, but I was not aware that there was that form.
For the
and-
appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get it, it's just.
That's what
on the
I
website,
thought
yeah.
maybe it was pretty standard. And then what all do you want to know about Ben that I need to put in there, in that information for you?
I think contact information would be great, and we'll leave it to council to do their questioning as far as, I would hate for you to run somebody into a huge resume or their life's work when we might not necessarily need all that. Maybe just a quick paragraph bio and then contact information for any individuals that would be nominated or that would have interest in it.
And I send that to you, Thor, or to you, Tiffany, who do I
I would send it to Tiffany, please, and she'll get it disseminated to all the council members.
Tiffany, how do I get a hold of you?
You can send an email, wcauditor@whitleygov.com.
Great. Any other questions? Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the broadband abatement request. Dale, assume you're going to go take the lead on that.
Good morning. Dale Book, Whitley County Economic Development. As you'll recall, I was here in November and kind of gave you a heads up. This is really a really good day, you know, for especially myself, I think, for Whitley County and the Broadband Task Force that we put together quite some time ago, and all the work we did. And the funds council, some of the ARPA funds they use to help with sand strategies has brought us to today. I definitely want to send a shout out to Councilman Brewer, Commissioner Basinger, Chris Todd of REMC, and, you know, working with me and the sand strategy folks allowed us to have Whitley County be the highest county for submissions of the dial-up, the speed test, and we were the highest county in the state of Indiana with the amount of grant dollars that were going to be available to service providers, which then let all the service providers get on, you know, we were on their radar, and they went after all these underserved areas. SURF has been just a great partner. As this council knows, they've come before you several times, and some of the times they came, they actually had a request, and we chose not to give them dollars at that time. And they have really gone out of their way, and they're going to do a sizable investment in this county. And as you see, if you read my memo, you can see the investment's substantial, and they are not asking for any dollars. What the request is today is for a tax abatement. It's Resolution 2026-01, and I'm going to have Steve come up and just describe a little bit about what they're doing, not only in Whitley County, what they're doing across the state. And then I'll come back and we'll just kind of put a bow on it, because there's still a little, you know, there may be some questions about how how it's actually taxed. Some of it could be state versus local, but if it's okay, I'd love for Steve to come up and describe a little bit about what SURF's doing. And I think for recording purposes. Sure.
Thanks, everyone. This is with regard to the BEAD program, which is the federal legislation. Indiana got just shy of $700 million, and SURF is investing in Whitley County about $7.4 million of its own money and the BEAD money for infrastructure to deliver rural broadband to 2,400 locations. SURF went after every single location that was available. We were successful in much of the area that we pursued. However, you know, there was a lot of competitive pressure here for those grant dollars. Comcast was also a winner on the eastern part of the county, and then Brightspeed picked up a lot of area in Richland and Cleveland Township, part of Etna Township. So SURF's impact is pretty minimal in those three townships, a minimal impact on what we're going to do, but we have sizable investment in the rest of the townships surrounding in the rural areas only. What the burden we face in terms of property taxes is that in the rural areas we have sizable infrastructure but very minimal density when it comes to customers to provide us revenue. And it's very slow to get profitable in these rural areas due to that low revenue, high construction cost kind of ratio. So we're estimating with our investment starting in 2026 of about $7.4 million, we would have a tax burden of about $34,000 for that investment there. And property tax abatement on only not on what we have built thus far, none of the existing infrastructure, but a property tax abatement on that new grant-funded infrastructure would seriously contribute to the overall viability of this project for us. We have not decided to formally contract with the state for this project yet. We are also pursuing, $34,000 doesn't seem like a lot. We have 35 counties that we have won bid in across our 3 states. So it's overall tax burden that we face in 35 counties is substantial. And we are working with Marshall County, Elkhart, St. Joe, Porter, LaPorte, Lake, Newton, Stark, DeKalb, Grant, and Wells County on this as well, this issue. We've had great success thus far in Marshall County, which has an IDZ legislation in the books. Elkhart, Lake, all the rest of the counties have been amenable to this tax arrangement. So that's the overall. I'll take any questions here.
I guess I'd like to ask Kim, I read your email you sent this morning. So can you explain that to me, please?
It has been my understanding from the DLGF that if it is a state assessed, fiber optic is state assessed, then they would not qualify for a local abatement. And also my understanding that there is Indiana law provides a specific exemption for fiber optic in place of a local abatement. That's the interpretation that the DLGF has given us when we've had these discussions throughout our assessor discussions. That's what my understanding is, our interpretation from the DLGF.
Dale, is there anything you'd like to
Well,
respond to
yeah,
that?
so that was news to me. And so as we can, I guess, there's a couple ways of looking at that. I can come back next month once we really have this understood in the dollar amount. But I would think that today, because like Kim said, she just sent that email out this morning. And so, working with SERP. SERP has been, they do have property tax liability in some of the work they've done before. So we're trying to duplicate that here in Whitley County. So I think what might be the only thing that might change is the dollar amount that I put in the cost benefit analysis summary. It may not be as high to the county, and the savings may be a little bit differently. I would just say that if we did the resolution for the tax abatement, it would still be in place. It just may not be to the level that I originally estimated. And we wanted to work with the council that get in front of you and use this as an incentive as opposed to coming once it was done and more as a reward. So we're here before the work starts.
I don't want to take anything away from them if they have it, but what Kim set out, and I just happened to read it this morning, I want to make sure we're doing everything the correct way and the legal way, that we don't get in trouble down the road. If they deserve it, yeah, I'm for it. But what Kim set out, I want to just make sure.
Right. What I prepared was similar to what SERP has done in other Indiana counties.
So if it's worked in other counties, I mean, there's no reason to think that it wouldn't work here.
Correct.
The
just
dollar
may
amount
be the
may just
dollar
be
amount,
different.
Right.
Which means it would be lower, not higher.
Correct.
Yeah, we base ours on, if you average the tax rate across the different townships, and we use 1.55% of as the tax rate, based on a county or on a township by township tax rate.
And in the benefit analysis summary that I copied you all on, I did the same. And we looked at a 5-year abatement. So I guess my request today is to approve the resolution, and I will continue to do my work better understand, and happy to come back up and, you know, in the future, talk about what it actually means as far as what the county revenue will be off this project. But I wanted to make sure we got the abatement request done before the work was started.
Can we approve an abatement request without a specific dollar amount?
We can approve it.
I mean, we're really
We
approving.
can, but I don't know that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dale.
Well, I was gonna say, we're approving the 5-year and the abatement schedule, because in all the resolutions, all the tax abatements that were brought in front of council, that dollar amount is never in the resolution or the SB1. So it just helps you to understand what the county will be making off the new assessed value and what the benefit for the abatement is to the prospect client. So it's never been part of any resolution or SB1, the dollar amount.
Help me understand what exactly is being abated. I have a good grasp when we go to XYZ Toolmaker and they've got tangible stuff to look at. I don't understand here fully on what exactly we're giving an abatement on.
Well, there is a lot of equipment and the actual fiber lines, but.
Yeah, the fiber lines and the electronics. We don't own any real property or buildings or anything like that, so.
And I will say a big shout out to the REMC, Northeastern REMC,
Yeah.
because they're allowing use of some poles and some fiber at substations. But it's all the equipment and the lines that they're putting in.
Yeah.
And this equipment and these lines, how long before they are replaced or obsolete?
Well, replacement is due to damage, and then we have a 20-year lifespan plus on the lines themselves before deterioration, I would think.
And when, on all the, because I'm coming next month with an abatement as well, it's a little easier to understand because it's a building. But with this and with something like that, I look at it being taxed for 10 years. So the lifespan may be more than that. The abatement's only 5 years, but the revenue stream that I'm showing is conservative because it's just what it would be for 10 years.
And do you anticipate, I know I get lost in the weeds sometimes, but do you anticipate the verbiage on the requirements to be similar to other tax abatements?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that resolution, Kim?
Well, typically what we see when someone files a resolution, we get the SB1 with the resolution, and typically a copy of the CF1, which will have the breakdown in the cost. And I would think that if equipment is part of that, which is your tangible property, which is required to come locally, which typically is what we see abatement requests for that come to council or the local municipality, local governing department, whoever's going to approve the abatement, those costs are divided up as far as the equipment costs on that CF1 and that SB1, which will be required to be filed with the resolution. And
so
it should be.
You have the SB1.
And is there equipment costs on
Yeah.
that? So there's a breakdown in the equipment costs
Well,
and
it's
then.
most, yeah.
Okay.
It's all in, like, IT section of the SB1.
Okay, so the there again, the equipment is what is your tangible property that gets filed with the local assessor, that you typically abate. So this is a little unique and different from that because you don't have a hard cost on the optic part of it, or I'm not an expert on this stuff in the lease, so I have no idea what the cost is and what's gonna be additional with the actual tangible equipment. And is that on the SB1?
Well, I don't, it never usually is. I haven't done it before. I think the big thing here is how it actually gets assessed, and then it'll be taxed based off the assessment or abated based off the assessment once the equipment is installed.
And there should be an equipment list filed as well, an EO. That should come with that.
Kim, we know that the laws are gonna be changing over the next year on that personal property tax. How is that going to affect an abatement of this nature?
Well, and two, we see filings a lot for equipment, like in their situation, where we have companies that come in and, well, to answer your question, it has to be over $2 million. That's the hard answer to that. But what we see sometimes is we have companies that will come in and file. SDI is a good one for this. They have equipment that they come in and they may place there for a year, like bowl equipment or a vendor like that, and they'll come in and they'll place equipment at that location, but only for that year because of a project they're doing at that location. But because it resides in our county, they're required to file for that equipment. So I don't know if their equipment would fall under those guidelines as well, to where you're gonna be working in various townships or taxing districts, and they say you've only got 500, your total equipment cost is going to have to exceed $2 million countywide to file on the tangible part of it. It would have to exceed $2 million because of the new change in our legislation. But let's say you've only got $50,000 in Richland Township and you've only got $100,000, you do not exceed that $2 million countywide, then they're not gonna be required to file on the equipment for the tangible part of it.
So what would happen with any tax abatement that we would give at that point? How would that
All
shake out?
tax abatements are gonna be null and void. We have 22 tax abatements in place right now that are all gonna be null and void because companies don't exceed that $2 million now.
Okay. So that'll definitely be filtered through your office?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, so there's a couple things we can do here. So for me, it's like if you give an abatement, it may or may not even be taxed, so, but it's in place in case it reaches that limit. I'm looking at the lengths that SURF provided me on all the different townships. I mean, a lot of this is gonna be over 2 million. I'm happy to break it out a little bit more in detail on the SB1, just for your understanding. But again, as we've done on a lot of the tax abatements, it's an estimate because we come before you because it's an incentive to do the work. We come to you before we have the actuals and know it. It's before the assessed value is actually determined and put on the books. But I'm happy to break out a little bit more detail on the SB1 because it is one lump sum. And as Kim said, this is investment in different townships. It's not just in one location. So either way, we can sign the resolution today, or I'll come back next month with a little bit more detail. Happy to do that.
Do you anticipate this project moving forward without an abatement from us?
I didn't speak on behalf of the council. It is a big deal for SURF because so much of the investment, the fact that, there was a time where they were actually requesting pretty substantial ARPA funds from us, and we did not do that. I'll let Steve speak, but I think the abatement's a big deal considering the investment they're willing to put in.
Yeah, for our executive team and the investors, it does push it over the edge into the proper IRR for us on a 10-year basis, basically, what the abatement would. It's cumulative effect across those years and then across multiple counties. Really helps.
Steve, is there any part of the internet that you're putting out there, is there any part that there's overlapping from other companies?
To a degree, but not for the same kind of purposes. So there will be like your long haul transport providers who provide big pipes that go county to county and state to state that will be on their routes. But for the most part, there's not going to be, there can be, bright speed on one side of the road and surf on the other side of the road, but there wouldn't be too much overlap of that.
I was just concerned about having other companies coming in and asking for a tax abatement.
This does not preclude them from doing so, of course.
Do you guys lease your lines to other companies? Is that possible?
Yeah.
With this type of technology?
Yeah, so usually what we put in main lines is a 96 strand that we can lease dark fibers, so individual fibers, or light it and provide lit service. So it's what we've done for the different school districts. So
What's the completion timeline?
we have contractually we have 4 years to complete it. So I would like to get it done a lot quicker than that. So.
Well, I guess I would have to say, I commend you for sticking with us. I know I've put you through some things. And I would like to make a motion that we accept the resolution. It's a 5-year, not a 10-year. He's hung in there, and I know what it's like to have internet in a rural area. And I would like to make a motion that we accept a 5-year abatement.
I'll second the motion and also add that I would commend Sir for sticking with us as well. I know it's been a long haul process, and I appreciate you guys, and I want to see our rural community connected. I don't want to see what happened in 2020 when kids are having to go to the library to do homework, or find a hotspot somewhere, or just figure it out when they can't get connected at home. This is a huge step forward for our community, and I think this is the right thing to do. And
Well,
I agree with Joan.
I'm actually disappointed you're not including Etna, Richland, and Cleveland.
Yeah,
Right, Ken?
we tried our best. It will go to Brightspeed. So suffice it to say, almost all areas will get fiber from someone.
That's good.
Might not be us, but it will be. There will be a lot of infrastructure being jammed into the county.
And speaking as a customer from Surf on it, and also a veteran on it, I appreciate the discount.
I was gonna say, if we sign the resolution today and give me time to work on the SB1, you don't have to sign that today. That will help Kim with what she brought up.
Okay, so what Kim brought up, if we do this, they can't go back through the state and get the same
Oh, no,
abatement or anything? It's just,
No, it's different taxing entities. We are just dealing with this taxing entity in this county on this resolution. And again, we're here ahead of the work.
okay.
And we don't want, we want them to be able to get started. And I think to make you happy, Kim, myself, and Sir, let me clean up the SB1 a little bit.
Does that work for you, Kim?
That's fine. Thank you.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I do have a motion, I'm not sure if I heard a second.
Second here.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? I will say, I'll add to the discussion that I'm not, this makes a lot more sense than the ask that you guys had before. Couldn't get behind that, couldn't support that. I don't even like to support tax abatements, quite honestly, when I have a feeling or the indicators are that the project's gonna go forward anyway. I feel that that's where you guys are at, but I also feel that you have stuck with this, you've done your work. I know you're a company that's looking to make money, you don't work for free. It's about turning a profit, and you guys have to be profitable. I think this is a piece of the puzzle that the county can responsibly contribute back to it in a way that we're not outlaying any money, but yet we're providing a service for the,
Yeah,
or an
appreciate that.
opportunity for service for the citizens of Whitley County. So appreciate you continuing to look for those sources of avenues of income that makes it doable for you and sticking with Whitley County.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this resolution 2026-01, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that we've passed unanimously with all members present.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you like the service.
Much better than merger.
We'll send that other paper back this way. I'm going to take it right in this envelope. I gotta run to the bathroom real quick. Let's take a 5-minute recess, please. Now resume the meeting. The next item on the agenda is Scott Wagner, please.
Good
morning, Happy New Year.
Morning.
2 items for discussion. The additional appropriation is for money that was not spent in the 1161 fund, which is the Health First Indiana Fund. Again, that's money sent to us from the state. That money was not spent in '25. I'd like to appropriate the $55,880.32 into this year's 1161 line item so I can pay the partners that we've decided to pay this year through those funds. That would include a Hope Center, the multi-county clinic, the Babe Store, Purdue Extension, Whitley County Homemakers, and Churubusco, or not Churubusco, I'm sorry, Whitley County Consolidated and Wico Community Schools.
What's that number start at the beginning of the year, Scott? What's this left over from?
So 1161, so last year was the first year, 2025 was the first year that Whitley County took funds. It was excess of $800,000. And of course, as you know, SB1 brought that down 60%. And so the projected amount that we'll get this year is a little over $181,000. And the total cost would be $237,000 to fund those 6 partners at the requested amount. So since we didn't spend money from 1161, we'd like to bring that over because it's just sitting there into this year's budget for that. And that 1161 fund will only pay for partners this year. None of that money will be used at the health department like it was last year.
Is there a certain amount that you are required to spend down in that, or can you, is there any rules on?
There are rules about how to spend it. You have to use a 60-40 rule, so 60% of the funds have to be used for preventable services. And if you look at the 15 different health fund areas, like chronic disease management, infectious disease, maternal child, things like that, those are all preventable causes versus food safety, environmental health, vital records. Those are all historically regulatory services. So we have to maintain that 60-40 split, which we do with this amount. And then we also can hold 10% from one year to the next for services like buying a vehicle, making improvements to the structure of the building that you're in, and things like that. So those are the few qualifying things, but no, as far as keeping them out, or you can spend them all, you can keep money once it's ours, it's there. I do recognize that next year may be a difficult situation, depending on what the legislature decides for this year, for 27, what to spend. We could use the next year's money for health department and not partners. That's up to you guys. You guys been generous with the health department. We would not need any of those funds this year. Instead, they're going to partners. Obviously, we have fewer partners this year. They're being paid less, most circumstances. But no, there is not. We don't have to maintain a certain amount, a level, or anything like that. And this is in addition to the 1159, which is our local levy that we always get.
Thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Any other questions for Scott, please? Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in support, please respond by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same. Let me show it's passed unanimously with all members present.
The second item today is the encumbrance request. This is money for the credit card bill that came late December that had been spent from November to December. And these are funds that we had still left in the 25 budget, but we'd like to use that budget to pay these so that 26 going forward we have the complete budget that we have submitted for. So I don't think it's a huge amount, but it helps us a little bit here and there.
How much is it, please?
They're all listed out separate. Out of the 1159, there's $453.99 for uniforms. Supplies is $117.29. Dues and subscriptions $160. Looks like in the 1161, there's training costs of $242.29. Education, public info $235.07, and postage for $10.45. And the 4002. The health, one of the health funds?
Yeah, that's women's. Yeah, that's the actually suicide awareness.
Okay, $1,498.95. So this form doesn't technically have to be signed. It's
think it was like 2,500 roughly total.
Yeah.
Around there.
Correct.
And I'm gonna trust Tiffany that this is proper accounting
It's a
requirements and regulations, right? And I completely trust you in that. Thank you, Scott.
Sure.
What's our motion for this, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Let it be shown it's passed unanimously with all members present. Thank you, Scott.
Any additional questions while you have me here? Like I informed the commissioners last month, flu, COVID, everything's very high, so wash your hands, a lot of sickness. Actually, some deaths in Indiana with flu this year, so careful out there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mark Sturtevant, please.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm here to request additional appropriations for some additional beams to put on the racking in the storage area for the Purdue Extension office. As you know, we moved them into the lower level here at the Government Center. We initially laid out the racking, and we have since discovered that if we added some additional racking, or the beams to the racking, that we could utilize a little more of the space down there in that area. The request for the additional racking would be $1,756.14. Any questions I can answer?
Where are you getting that from?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The figure I've got's 290614.
Yes. Since this quote came out, Commissioner Petraeus asked if it was possible that the maintenance department could go to Fort Wayne and pick up the material and install the beams and stuff ourselves. We can do that, so we can eliminate that $1,150.
Okay.
If we take care of that in-house. So
Okay.
So the total is what again?
$1,756.14.
And you can do that all right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion. You got any idea where the money comes from in general? We got someplace else to get it.
That's up to you.
I have to take it out of cum cap. Because it's for building.
Hang on, I'm waiting on discussion.
Throw it out there.
That's
Okay.
right. I mean, I think that's probably stretching it a little bit, but I think it's appropriate.
All right, got out of cum cap for 17,560.14.
1756.
56, okay, yep.
$1,756.14. I have a motion. Is there a second, please?
I'll second
Motion is second. Further discussion. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand and let it be shown as passed unanimously with all members present.
Thank you. Thank you.
Form for you guys to sign next meeting.
I've asked Tiffany to give us just an overview, and I think you guys have a printout of the financial health from the accounting standpoint of our money coming back in, and of course, funds that came back into county general. So I'm going to let her speak on that at this time, please.
A couple points that I put on here for you is at the end of '24, there was a cash balance of just over $9.6 million in the general fund. Happy to report at the end of '25, we actually increased, and we're about $9.8 million. For 2025, we had roughly $1.4 million, leaving about 9.3% unused in general fund. I think a big part of that was ARPA being able to pay for insurance expenses, so I wouldn't assume that's going to happen every year. As of today, we had a cash balance of just shy of $9 million in our general fund. For 2026, you all should have received the 1782 notice from the state has been approved, so we are good to go there. looking at numbers that were on our 1782 notice, we're looking at about 16.5 million to be received for the general fund between miscellaneous revenues and property taxes. We're still a little unsure of how that's going to hit with SB1 when we print the tax bills, and then our adopted budget for general is 16.4. So as long as we don't have an abundance of additional appropriations, we should be able to hopefully maintain our cash balance at the end of 26.
And $9.5 million is a good cash balance, I think, for our size budget and where we came in the last 10 years. Yes. I remember when that, and you guys kind of tired of hearing me say it, but I remember when I first came on, we were at about $800,000.
Yes.
That wasn't good. So, thank you for your, that report, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Nick, do you have anything additional to add from Personnel Committee, please?
Not in addition to what DJ already brought forth. I don't think we're meeting today.
We're going to have I called for just a short, or I announced that we'd have a very short reorganizational type meeting for election.
That's right.
Officers.
That's right.
And maintain the structure, but it'll be very, very brief.
Yep. So DJ's update was all we had from last month. So yeah, nothing really to report.
Commissioner report, please.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
I'll real briefly, for Commissioner report for today. Yesterday was our first meeting of the year. We had election of officers as you did. I was elected chairman and Stacy Petro was vice chairman for 2026. We heard an update from our veteran service officer, and as you'll recall, we made that a full-time position, and 2025 was the first full calendar year of a full-time VSO, and he made contact with 511 veterans in 2025. He had set a personal goal of 500, so happy that he was able to exceed that. We voted yesterday to create a grant fund through the Health Department for the Whitley County Women's Health Fund, Ordinance 2026-01. We reappointed 3 members to the Plan Commission, Mark Johnson, Kim Cruz-Setzler, and Joe Wolf. Next week, the Probation Department will be moving to Branch Court. We're starting that process, or the process already started. They've already moved quite a bit of things, and that's really going to take shape next week. And then one thing I wanted to mention, I touched base with Jennifer Shenberry, HR Director. We are 4 years out from our last countywide WIS evaluation, and so we'll probably maybe bring it up in personnel, but just while we're all here as council, maybe it's something we should consider looking at in 2026 or very soon. So just a thought. Do you have any questions for me?
What's an update on the heating units?
So, Mark here still? Yeah. Yeah, Mark, if you would be willing to contribute. I had reached out to Mark before Christmas and inquired about the possibility of getting a second opinion on the current status, and Mark thought that was possibly something we ought to consider. So what else would be?
Yes, they're currently switching over all the units from drawing a blank. They're switching them over to BACnet. In other words, we're going to let the Aon controls control the units instead of Abbott controls. So we're in the middle of switching those over. The ones that we've already switched over, they're running fine. We do have some ongoing issues that haven't been addressed from day one. Looks like now we're going to be waiting for some warmer weather. But in order to see how they're going to run during both seasons, we're going to need to give it probably another year before we know exactly how these things are going to operate. But
they're not signed off on yet. Okay.
I don't believe they've signed off on anything. But we'll continue to work with them. It is getting better. But again, there's some things that still need to be addressed.
Are you guys still spending, your department still spending a significant amount of time out there?
Not significant, but some.
Some? Do you know, in that same vein, do you know if our county attorney has gotten anywhere with clawbacks on the cost to the county for overtime?
I don't really have an update on that. He drafted a letter to just let them know that we're considering something in that area. But I didn't ask him for an update yesterday if he had correspondence.
He probably charge you for it anyway.
Hope so. It's been a headache.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Rob. Motion to approve previous minutes from December 2nd, 2025 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Go ahead, John. John second.
John with the second. Motion to second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
I abstain.
And I'm sorry, Kim, did you raise your hand? I didn't catch your vote. Thank you. Passes 6-1 abstention with John.
Yes.
Is there anything from the audience for the good of the cause, please? Appreciate y'all being here. We got a little bit thinner. It was a longer meeting, but you all stuck with us, so there'll be cupcakes for you as you leave.
It's Colorado.
If you get out there and they're not there, just stand and wait. Appreciate everybody being here today.
I have nothing further.
Councilman Longenball,
Nothing further.
Councilwoman Weston,
No, thank you.
Tom.
I just have a question. I mean, I'm thinking down the road on this Senate Bill 1. Didn't we say, when I was on the Personnel Committee, didn't we create a hiring freeze a few years ago, Jennifer? Or am I just making that up?
We did, at one point we did, and it was, at one point the hiring freeze was said to be we wouldn't create new positions, we would replace, we could still replace positions.
Okay.
And then it was somewhat confusing whether then we wouldn't replace those positions, but yes, that was several years ago, like around 2020 maybe, 2021, but that
Okay.
kind of fell off.
And I'm just thinking ahead to, what's going to happen with our money coming in and what the budget's going to do. If the Personnel Committee wants to think about maybe putting something out there that we need to do a hiring freeze until we know what's going on. That's just me thinking out loud. You don't have to. I'm just trying to look ahead a little bit.
Yeah, we did that because of COVID.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
I have none.
I have nothing.
And I have nothing either. We will stand adjourned. Thank you so much.